different, be different, live different. He's the president, founder, CEO of Shift Motivation. At this time, please welcome Mr. Michael Mariner.
Somebody that has come through some obstacles and some things that probably should have took me out. And so when I'm dealing with these kids, you know, and when y'all are dealing with the kids, you understand that they got stuff going on at home and you got stuff going on at home too, but you guys make it through because you push past your own issues to help somebody else with their issues. Give yourself a round of applause for that. Because you are special. You are very important. And I know you know that, but sometimes you just have to be reminded, especially after what we've come out these last 2.5 years, right? Because actually, when you look at it, it kind of led into it, and then it just kind of hit unexpectedly. And so I can remember when me and that's my beautiful wife back there, we'll be celebrating 23 years of marriage at the end of this month. And just to show you just one of the most challenging things that we've ever had to face, I don't know if you guys remember, back in 2004, Florida was hit with like 4 hurricanes, right? Back to back to back. We thought we had escaped. We thought we had escaped, but the last one took us out. It was really no damage to the house, but our house got flooded out. It just so happens I happened to wake up, and when I woke up and I reached over on the side of the bed and I stepped into a puddle of water, I'm like, what in the world? And like I stepped into a puddle of water and I got up and I didn't want to wake her, so I waited till I got in the hallway and I flipped the whole light on, and the whole house is flooded with water. And so I'm like, oh my God. So I go back in there, and then I wake up, I say, babe, I say, the house is flooded with water. And I said, we gotta get up. We gotta take care of this, right? And so, here's the funny thing. I grabbed towels in the mop. She grabbed towels. And we're trying to get up all this water. I mean, the floor is soaked. And I just happened to stop, and I looked. And I'm like, it seemed like every time we pick the water up and dry the water out, there's more water floating in. And I just started laughing. Sometimes you gotta laugh in the face of calamity. It don't feel good, but sometimes you gotta let calamity know that it's not gonna get the best of you. And so when we deal with calamity, when it's dealing with the students, and sometimes, you know, we have to laugh in the face of adversity. Because we don't know what they're dealing with unless they share it with us, right? And so you can use those attributes to help them get through the school year while at the same time being a blessing to somebody while you're hurting. And because I always say that there's a blessing even in the hurting. Because, you know, when we was created to do things great, right? We weren't created to be average. We was created to be great. And sometimes we don't feel great. Sometimes life doesn't treat us great. Sometimes we just want to do things and just settle. It's just like, I don't feel like today, but I refuse to be average. And so as we're sitting there, the water comes in, I just start laughing. I was like, man, I tap her, and then she starts laughing. I'm like, babe, what are we doing? That's like, because every time we try to dry the water, there's more water flooding in. So I said, I tell you what, I said, grab the girls, and my mother-in-law stayed across town. I said, grab the girls, y'all go across town. And I'll just make sure everything is taken care of here, right? So got everything there, got packed up what we could use, and then so we go across town, right? And so the next day I come back, mold is all in the house. It's like, oh snap, what are we gonna do? Now here I am, a young man, I got married at 21, she was 22, here I am, a young man, dealing with this calamity. Got a family to take care of. I ain't got time to cry. They depending on dad and she depending on her husband right now to take care of what's going on. And so, long story short, it took us 2 years to get our life back on track. Somebody say, I believe. That was weird. I'm going somewhere with this. Somebody say, I believe.
I believe.
Because what happened is, I had a belief system that wouldn't let me succumb to my circumstances. I told them to go across town, come back, I let them know, I gave them an update what was going on, right? And I gave them an update of what was going on, I'm like, in my mind, I'm trying not to panic, but inside, I'm panicking. But at the same time, I'm like, I can't panic. You ever been there? Kind of like feeling like you're kind of schizophrenic all over the place, you don't know whether you're coming or you're going. And so I just sat there, and I came to myself, and I got a grip on myself. I said, you know what, we're going to be all right. And even though it took us 2 years to get our life back together, in those 2 years, I received so much ridicule because so many people had lost their homes, So many people had lost their livelihood and they were back on their feet. And I'm going to the grocery stores and I'm going shopping and I'm running into these people and I'm getting ridiculed because, like, why is it taking you so long to get to where you're supposed to be? Anybody ever felt that way? Like you should be further along than where you are? And then you got to come to the school, and then you got to put a smile on your face, and little Jimmy's getting on your nerves because you told him 5 times you need to get that assignment in, and little Jimmy still ain't got that assignment in, and you figuring out, man, I'm already stressed out because I got, you know, but what we going to do this year, we going to say, I believe. I believe little Jimmy's going to turn around. If it takes me the 6th time, the 7th time, the 8th time, the 9th time, the 10th time, why? Because I'm not going to succumb to average. Because we're here to be great. What does Auburndale stand for? When I first got here, before they changed it to the Tracy McGrady gym, it said what? Auburndale inspiring what? Auburndale inspiring what? Auburndale inspiring what? Greatness, right? So that means we've been challenged with the responsibility to extract greatness, not only from our students, but from each other. Because you are a team, right? And how many of you know that when you're a team, that you feel the pressure when somebody is not carrying their weight? Right? And then it puts you in a place that you know what I'm saying, where you don't want to be. I'm just going to put it that way. Right? And so you're dealing with this pressure because you weren't designed to feel that type of pressure. And so what I want you to do is, I don't know if you've already done it, but one of the things that I do at the beginning of every school year, when the football season starts, and some of the kids don't know this because, you know, when the new influx of kids come in, I go into the room, into the locker room to see what is in their locker room. Because how many of you know we got to write the vision and make it plain? Because the statistics already said that you're 70 to 80% more to accomplish your goals if you write them down. And a lot of times we keep them in our head thinking that we got it, right? And then we wake up and next thing you know, life happened and 20 years hadn't passed by. And so when we tell these kids, we tell our students, hey, you can be great. Hey, you need to do this. Are we partaking from that same tree? Is my marriage great? Is my relationship great with my kids? Is my relationship great with my spouse? With my boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever? Is my relationship great with my co-workers? Because you spend more time together than you spend with your own family. And so one of the things, if you have not already, I encourage you to write some goals down this year. Auburndale had a great year last year. I was watching all the stats. Academically and athletically, Auburndale was a powerhouse last year. Y'all give y'all hands a round of applause because that's an indication that they did some great leadership. And the reason I wanted to start with the belief system, because everything that you see started with the belief system. Somebody had to believe that they could create a chair that could hold you right now without you falling over. It was a thought. Somebody created this stage. It was a thought. So whatever it is you want to see in this school year, guess what? It's going to have to start with a thought. And when it starts with a thought, you have to put into action to bring that thought to pass. Right? And so when Dion took over that program at Jackson State University, what was the first thing he said when he got there? He said, I believe. He had to change that belief system. And see, every morning you got to change your belief system because you're going to face something today that you didn't face yesterday. And so one of my goals is always this right here, that to be a better person today than I was yesterday, and to be a better person tomorrow than I was today. Because it's not me versus the world, it's me versus myself. Because at the end of the day, if I can be the best version of myself, then I can give those students the best version of myself. And if I can give them the best version of myself, then I'm required to require them to give me the best version of myself, of themselves. But how dare we ask them to give them the best version of themselves if we don't give them the best version of ourselves? That is leadership. I can't tell you to do something that I haven't done myself. We can, but that would be hypocritical. And we all know we don't like hypocrites, right? And so I was working out in the gym one day, and I find myself watching movies that I normally wouldn't watch. And so I remember growing up this picture called Wonder Woman. Anybody seen the movie Wonder Woman? And I used to love to watch that show when it came on TV. And so I'm in the gym and I'm in the running room, and Wonder Woman's on the screen, and it's probably 3/4 of the way finished. I was on the treadmill for about an hour. And it gets down to the end and she's fighting the evil guy Aries. And Aries is trying to take everybody out. And one woman said something that struck me so powerful. And I began to think about the state of the world, and I began to think about the next generation that is coming up behind us. And as he was trying to destroy everybody because he was upset because he didn't feel like humanity treated the earth the way that she needed to be treated. And so he just wanted to destroy everybody. But Wonder Woman had a different purpose. And she said these words right here as she was defeating him. And he was like, they deserve to die. Look at how they mistreated this earth. They deserve to die. She said, it's not about what you deserve. It's about what you believe. Because she believed even though that there was evil presented before her, that there was also something good that was in that evil. And so sometimes you can be looking at those kids like, oh my God, Jimmy? Is that really Lisa? Oh, no. But I feel we got to be like Wonder Woman, that even though sometimes they may deserve a certain thing, but it's going to take a deep impression for us to dig deep past our feelings and emotions to say, you know what, even though you may deserve it, but just because I believe, I'm going to have mercy and grace on you. Because she had mercy and grace on the earth, she was able to save earth and go on and fulfill her purpose. And so I heard somebody say that this is the calling. I believe that with everything in me. Because you guys sacrifice so much, you overworked and underpaid. We understand that. But at the end of the day, we're here to make an impact, right? Because you wouldn't be sitting in those seats if you didn't care. You wouldn't be sitting in those seats if you had a purpose. You wouldn't be sitting in those seats if you weren't called to the seat that you're standing in or sitting in. Because at the end of the day, greatness on the inside of each and every one of us, and what we cannot do is allow life to extract it from us and keep it suppressed. And so I'm going to get ready to end this, and I want to tell you a story real quick, another story. Because sometimes it's like you feel like you're trying to save the world, but at the same time, sometimes the world is like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Because you're trying to deal with life, and we're still dealing with some of the after effects, and then it seems like we're about to, it seems like something else coming. And it seems like every time you get your head, it's like, oh man, I just got my head above water, here comes something else. See, every day I wake up, I'm putting something in. Every day me and my wife, we have an affirmation that we say. I'm big on affirmations. We have our affirmations that we say together as a married couple, and I say my affirmation individually, and she says her affirmation individually, because I'm reaffirming the purpose for my life for that day. And when challenges happen during that day, I have to remind myself of the words that I spoke. Because we have the words to speak life, we have the words that speak death. And so I choose to speak life. And so there's a passage that says life and death is in the power of the tongue. And when you realize that, you understand that, you'll be able to control that even the more, even when it comes to your students. Because you don't, like once again, you don't understand sometimes the pressures that they may go. Sometimes you're the only positive reinforcement those students have. And it hurts us to sometimes that we have to see those things, but these are the realities that we're faced with each and every day that we wake up. Each and every day that you wake up, you're faced with a new challenge that is not expected and some that is expected. And so there's a story of this little boy. This little boy and his father was walking along on the beach, right? And as they was walking along on the beach, they could see for miles and miles and miles away a bunch of starfish had rose to surface. And so as they began to walk down the way, and then the son looked at Dad, it's like, wow, look at all the beautiful starfish. Why are they? Oh man, they're going to die. If they don't get back in the water, they're going to die. And so guess what the little kid began to do? The little kid begins to bend down, and he began to pick up the starfish, and he picked it up, and he threw it back in the water. And then they would take another step, he bends back down, he picks up the next starfish, and he throws it in the water. And by the third time, the dad is like, son, what are you doing? He's like, there's miles and miles of starfish. He's like, surely you know you can't save each and every one of them. He was like, Dad, and he looked up with those big eyes. He said, Dad, I know. And after he said, Dad, I know, guess what he did? He bent down and he picked up another starfish and he threw it in the water. And guess what he said to his dad? He said, "Dad, I helped that one." Then he bent back down. He said, "Dad, I helped that one. Dad, I helped that one." So you may not be able to help everybody, but those that you have been trusted with, you can say to yourself, "Dad, I helped that one." Little Jimmy may be getting on your nerves all year long, but when Jimmy walked that plank and he got that piece of paper in his hand, you can be like, "Dad, I helped that one." Little Susie may be at her wit's end, but because you said something to her that brought her back to life, you can say, "Dad, I helped that one." And then you can go back home and use that same tenacity with your relationship with your spouse, with your relationship with your kids, with your teammates, and say, "Dad, I helped that one." So as you guys get ready to go back to the 2022 school year, I want you to go back with a vigor, with a new strength, with a new fresh breath of air in your lungs, ready to breathe life into each other and those students that you've been trusted with. And so that's why when you see this on my shirt where I say, "Think different, be different, live different," I eat, sleep, and I breathe that. Because every day I wake up to be different. I'm not created to be average. I was created to be different. God created us all in His image to be different. And we're presented to a place and we're presented to a people, because if we were all the same, it would be a boring place to live. And so I encourage you today, and I thank you for your time, and I'm excited that you guys brought me in to be able to kick off this 2022 school year. And to look within yourself and say, "You know what? I believe." When y'all walk on that school campus and it feels like everything's fine, you be like, you sit at that desk, you be like, "Oh well, here we go." No. I believe. So you guys come step on campus with some authority. I believe. No, they're not going to get the best of me this year. I already know Jimmy gonna come turned up, but you know what? Guess what? He about to meet a new Jesse today. There's a new sheriff in town. Turned out for what? Jimmy, sit down. There's life in you, and I'm going to extract it from you. You don't know it, but I know it. And I'm going to extract it from you today. You're not going to get me this year. Why? Because I believe. Because I believe. Everything starts with the belief. If Henry Ford said this, that whether you can or you can't, either way, you're right. And so as you go onto that campus this year, I believe. Chest high, shoulders back, head held high. I believe. When the parents start getting on your nerves, whew, I believe. I believe. I believe. You might have to tell yourself 10 times before the day over with. But you believe. Why? Because you were sent to this place for a greater purpose. And you have to believe that. You are not sent here just to occupy space, but you were sent here with a purpose. That's my time. Auburndale, can I get an I believe on 3? 1, 2, 3. I believe. 1, 2, 3. I believe. 1, 2, 3. I believe. Thank you for your time. You guys have been great. Y'all have a great school year. Go, blood.